Sarah, I'm Mahesh Ghayal. I'm a cardiologist, and currently we're here in East Africa in the International Medical Camp. And I'm so blessed to be here to serve because I was actually born in Uganda. We lived in Kenya, and at the age of 6, we moved away. It's been a long journey for us. We moved to England, and that was where we first came to know about Swami. My older brother Rajan Ghayal in 1971 first heard about Swami. At that time he was in university, and he fell in love with Swami's golden voice on the recordings of the bhajans that he heard, and he read about him and came to know that this was actually divinity walking on earth. We would go to bhajans, but my first experience firsthand of Swami was when we went in 1986 to see Swami, and it happened to be at Shivarathri time. At that time, I believed that Swami was God because everybody else said that, oh yeah, this is God. But I hadn't experienced it within myself. Shivratri time was very beautiful. I had taken stethoscope and a blood pressure cuff, which I wanted to donate to the general hospital there. Then I took it into the darshan line with me, and Swami didn't accept. But then when I took the kit back into my room and opened it, there was vibhuti all over it inside. So I felt very blessed with that encounter. And I was so fortunate that within the space of 1 year, I was able to go back because my father had a stroke and he had surgery, and he wanted Swami's darshan. So me being the doctor in the family, it was decided that I would take him. And at that time, the journey to Swami was arranged by Swami himself. We got into the ashram very late. Normally the gates would have been closed, but they were open. So they let us in. They gave us a room overnight, and we stayed in that room for the rest of the duration. That time, when I went into the darshan line on the first day, Swami came, and he was about 10-15 feet away from me. And he looked at me, and his eyes and my eyes met, and I could feel him staring directly into me, and I felt as if he knew everything about me. And he gave a little smile, the smile that expresses more than the love of 1,000 mothers could. And I just started tearing up. That's when I experienced Swami's divinity. And since that time, we had been going back to Puttaparthi on a regular basis. We became more spiritual. And in 1995, Swami allowed us to have the first international medical camp for overseas devotees. And myself and Dr. Yatish Merchant and other doctors were the first physicians to be part of that. And at that time, we were so privileged to serve, and the joy that we got from serving was so intoxicating that we got hooked on it. And we've been doing that pretty much ever since. And it is in serving this way that we really feel and experience the love of Swami. On multiple occasions, we've felt his presence. We've felt his fatherly protection in many areas that we've served in. In one instance in Sri Lanka, we went after the tsunami. We were serving, but the host had said, you need to come back to Colombo 2 days earlier than we had planned to. And reluctantly we said, okay, we'll come. And we had driven past that area, and half an hour later, there was an ambush by the Tamil tigers, and a lot of people were killed. So Swami had protected us and got us out of the danger very quickly. When we serve, whatever we give to the people we serve is very little. It's minuscule compared to what we receive in return. And Swami has said that you give one thing and you'll get it multiplied many a time. And there have been many, many instances that we've experienced this. And Swami has said that there are three aspects. One is service, another is adoration, and another is illumination. And the three together form Sai, S-A-I. And myself and my family, we all strongly believe in the service aspect of our sadhana, spiritual journey. And that has really helped us through our life and helped us become better people and helped us continue forward. And in doing so, I think it's become an inspiration for the younger generations as well. On this medical mission, I have my wife and also three of my nieces, two of whom are physicians and the third one is a pharmacist. So we strongly believe in service, and like Swami says, service to man is service to God. Hands that help are holier than lips that pray. So this has been basically our journey and will continue to do so. So back in 2011, my wife's nephew was getting married in India, and we were attending that. My son had decided he wanted to stay home, but at the very last minute he agreed to come. And when we were there in India at that time, lightning struck our house and it was burnt to the ground. So at the one side was the Mangal Fera going on in India. We were all there. On the other side, the house was burning. And when the house was destroyed, our prayer room with the altar, and we had all the deities and Swami's pictures and pictures of all the other deities, nothing happened to that. That was all intact, but the rest of the house was destroyed. So it made me realize that the only thing that is permanent is God, and everything else is here one day and gone another. So it made me aware of the important things in life, which was my family was with me, and we just realized our needs are very, very basic. We just had a few suitcases of clothes with us when we returned, and that's pretty much how it's been. So Swami has said that we need to realize what our needs are and what our wants are, and we need to practice a ceiling on desires. And it made me realize that I really don't need much, but God has been gracious that He's given me everything that we have, and much, much more than we deserve, all through His love. Other instances, just for instance, on this medical camp, there was a blood pressure medication that we use in emergencies, and we didn't have it, but yesterday it was ordered, and today I saw a patient with an extremely high blood pressure, and the medication was available to me for use, and we were able to utilize it, and the blood pressure came down, and the patient did not have any complications, and we were able to release her. There were other instances where something happened to me, so I decided that I have to carry this medication for my own benefit. And when we came here, I came across a patient who was having a stroke, and it just so happened that I carried the medication in my pouch, and I was able to give that medication to the patient, and she also showed quick recovery. On other occasions, my wife had developed asthma and was wheezing very badly, so we got a mini nebulizer, and we took that with us to India. And during that trip, she did not have a single episode of wheezing or anything, but we came across a lot of patients who had asthma, and we were able to utilize the equipment for treatment of those patients. So instances like that, not anything major, but small instances make us realize that these things that happen to us happen for a reason, and it's really God's divine planning that this happens. And only after the event has occurred, we say, oh, this is why such and such happened. So we always have to be aware of His presence, and we also have to accept everything that happens as there being a reason for it, and then the reason unfolds at a later point. So our experiences with Swami in the interview room, one of the first things he said as we entered the room, he so gracious, and everybody's seated in the room. He closed the door behind him, and first things he says is, money comes and goes, morality comes and grows. And then another saying of his was, less luggage, more comfort makes travel a pleasure. And this I also related to the time when we had the fire. And it made me realize that he took away so much of the luggage that we had been carrying. And the luggage, by that I mean the karmas from the past birth. He took a lot of that away by just destroying the house. And he also has said at one point that you carry bags of pennies and they are so heavy. And what Swami does is he takes that and gives you a 100-rupee note, and thereby lightening the burden of your karma. And so when the fire happened to our house, those words came back to us and made us realize that actually Swami had blessed us, because what he did was he safely took us away from the danger and put us in a place where we were safe. And my son was originally not going to come, but at the last minute he decided to come, and the lightning actually struck his room. So he would have been quite devastated, and things could have been very bad, but he safely guided us out of the house, put us at a different place, and this happened to the fire. On another occasion, Erna had, my wife had some issues with her health, and she told me that I'm going to ask Swami. But when we got into the interview room inside, Swami says, how are you, Ma? In such a nice, sweet, motherly, caring way. And she says, I'm fine, Swami, I'm fine. And then he asks again, how are you, Ma? And she again says, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then Swami looks at me and says, how is she, doctor? And so I said, Swami, she has this problem and she has this problem. And Swami says, I see. And then he goes and brings his robe and hands it to her. And he says, put this under the pillow for 3 nights and everything will be fine. And when we got back, we did that. And her problem that he had actually resolved, and she came off of the medication that she was taking. So the robe really did the trick, and it's been protecting us ever since that. We have it in our room, and every morning and every night, first thing and last thing we do is hold the robe and then carry on our activities. So multiple examples like this. Another example was in that interview room. Aruna asked Swami, can I have Pad Namaskar? And he looks at her so lovingly and says, come, take. If your mother can't give you Pad Namaskar, who will? And even now, as I think about that, it brings tears and chokes me up with emotion, because the love that he expresses is just so overwhelming that you just cannot describe it. When you experience it, There is no such love in the world that can come anywhere close to the love of Swami. Such a divine motherly love, and the energy that flows from him into you causes so much change that you can not help but just burst into tears and become so emotional. So after Swami left his physical body, we had a lot of challenges, I shall say, in our life. And what we feel is that when Swami was here, he was protecting us and comforting us. And when he left his physical body, all of those challenges came along in our life. And I think his guiding hand was there behind us to see us through the challenges. And with Swami, it's not just one challenge and let's see how you do with it, second challenge and see how you do with it. It's like 4 or 5 things will all happen at the same time, and he'll see how we respond to it. And in that regard, there has been such a big spiritual growth, because now we don't have the physical form to run to, but we know that he's there behind us, he's protecting us. And once we go through all of these challenges, we've basically, I think, grown spiritually. And that's what he is here to do, is to take us along further on our spiritual journey. So yes, physical form isn't there, but he's there with us, guiding us, guarding us. And whenever we've gone through such events, afterwards we say, yes, that was Swami who got us through it. Yes, Swami protected us. Multiple occasions. It's I can't think right off the top of my head, but when we just sit down to think about it, oh yes, that was Swami. Oh yes, that was Swami. And we realize how near he is. Before we would actually go to Perthi to experience his presence. Now we can experience his presence in pretty much almost our daily life. And certainly any difficulties that we face, his protection and guiding hand is always there. He always gets us through.